I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 8 years now. We've had our ups and downs, like most couples, but overall, I thought we had a decent life. 2 years ago, everything changed when our daughter, Emily, got sick. She was diagnosed with leukemia, and the whole world seemed to tilt on its axis. We were thrown into this whirlwind of hospital visits, chemo, and endless tests. The one bright spot in all that chaos was the bone marrow donor, a guy named Alex. He was the one who saved Emily's life. I remember the day he was introduced to us at the hospital's donor appreciation event. It was a small gathering, just a handful of people, but the moment I saw Alex, I knew he was special. Tall, kind-eyed, and surprisingly humble for someone who just saved a child's life. Lisa was all over him that day, but she was polite, charming even. I didn't think much of it at the time. I was just thankful, grateful that Emily was going to make it. Over the next few months, Lisa's attitude started to shift. She became more dismissive, impatient, even bitchy. Little things, her snapping at me for no reason, not wanting to talk about Emily's health updates, avoiding her phone. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I started noticing the more obvious signs. She was secretive about her phone, hiding it when I came near, deleting texts and call logs. She would go out to run errands and come back late looking guilty. I asked her once and she shrugged it off, calling me paranoid. "You're imagining things," she said, rolling her eyes. "You're just stressed about Emily." But I knew something was off. Then I caught her completely by accident. I was looking for my keys in her purse, stupid, I know, and I found a small folded piece of paper tucked inside. I unfolded it and my stomach dropped. It was a handwritten note. "Can't wait to see you again. Tonight's our night. Love, Alex." My blood ran cold. I looked at the date, just a couple of days ago. That's when everything clicked into place. She had been sneaking around, meeting him during hospital visits. I hadn't seen her with Alex in person. But the security footage from the hospital told the whole story. It showed Lisa meeting him in an empty consultation room during Emily's follow-up appointments. I found recordings of her sneaking away from the waiting area, heading into those rooms alone. I could hear footsteps, muffled voices, her laugh, everything that confirmed she'd been cheating. She lied about catching up with a friend, said she was just doing that to cover her tracks, but I knew better now. I was furious, heartbroken, and 1,000 other things all at once. How could she do this? She was the one who told me she loved me, that she was committed to Emily and to our family. And here she was, sneaking around with the guy who saved our daughter's life, no less. It's not like I didn't understand the connection. They had met at that donor appreciation event, and I guess they kept in touch afterward. But the fact that she was lying so blatantly, hiding her phone, sneaking out during hospital visits, that was the worst betrayal I'd ever experienced. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat there, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just found out. Part of me wanted to confront her immediately, but I knew I had to think carefully. If I went off half-cocked, I'd just make things worse. But I also knew I couldn't keep this bottled up. I needed to see her face, get some answers, and figure out what the hell I was going to do next. I just didn't expect that the next few days would turn my whole life upside down in ways I never imagined. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind kept replaying those moments, the note, the footage, her lies. It's one thing to suspect something, but it's another completely to have proof. I didn't want to believe it, honestly. I kept telling myself maybe there was some misunderstanding, some innocent explanation. But deep down, I just knew. I decided I couldn't wait any longer. I needed to confront her. I made myself a cup of coffee and waited until Lisa was up, which wasn't hard because she was the type who liked to get up early, act busy, and pretend everything was fine. She strolled into the kitchen with that cocky smirk she always had when she thought she was getting away with something. I looked directly at her, feeling the rage and disappointment boil inside me. "I found the note," I said flatly, holding it out. "The one you wrote to Alex. Care to explain what's going on?" Her eyes widened for a split second, then her face twisted into that familiar bitchy expression. "What are you talking about, Mike? You're crazy. I don't know what note you're referring to. You're just overreacting because you're stressed about Emily." No, Lisa. You're the one overreacting. I saw the footage. I saw you sneaking into those consultation rooms during Emily's follow-up visits. You're cheating on me with the guy who saved our daughter's life. My voice was calm but hard. I wanted her to understand I wasn't messing around. She scoffed, crossing her arms. Oh, please, Alex is just a donor. He's a nice guy and he's been supportive after Emily got sick. That doesn't mean I'm sleeping with him. You're making a big deal out of nothing. 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 You lied to me for months, hidden your phone, lied about where you were going. And that note, I found it. In your purse. How much more do you want me to ignore? She rolled her eyes and looked away. Look, Mike, you're just being paranoid. Maybe you're jealous because I paid more attention to Emily than to you lately. I've got enough on my plate without you accusing me of cheating. Her voice was icy now. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just imagining things because you're stressed. You're always accusing me of stuff. That was the moment I realized she was never going to admit the truth. She was a good liar, but I could see right through her. I felt my blood boil. I wanted to shake her, scream at her, tell her she was the biggest bitch I'd ever met, but I kept my composure barely. I told her, we're done, I need some space. I'll stay at a hotel for now. She looked surprised, maybe even a little angry. Fine, go ahead, but you're making a huge mistake. I love Emily, I love you. You're overreacting because you're a jealous, insecure man. That was the last straw. I packed my bag, feeling sick inside. As I left, she called after me. You'll regret this, Mike. You're just jealous because I found someone who actually cares about me. I didn't say a word. I just walked out, closing the door behind me. I didn't sleep that night either. All I could think about was why she had lied to me, why she'd betrayed us like that. The worst part, I started questioning everything about our marriage. Was I blind? Was I stupid? How did I not see this coming? It's a crushing feeling, knowing the person you trusted most in the world was cheating on you with the guy who saved your kid's life. For the next few days, I stayed at the hotel trying to keep my head straight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, laughing with Alex, hiding her phone, sneaking around. I kept asking myself if I should just cut her out of my life completely, or try to fix things, even though I knew she'd lied from the start. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly kind of devastated. A part of me wanted to break everything, yell at her, fight her. But another part, I didn't want to be the guy who burns everything down. Because of some stupid, fleeting affair. I just wanted to understand why she did it. Why Alex? Why her? I still remember that moment when I realized she'd been lying from the beginning. It was like a punch to the gut. And now I had to decide what to do next. That's where I stand now, trying to process this mess, trying to figure out whether I still have a marriage to salvage or if I should just walk away. One thing's for sure, nothing will ever be the same again. The days that followed were a blur of anger, sadness, and a sick feeling in my stomach. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, her lies, her sneaking around, that damn note. I kept thinking about Emily too, how she's this innocent girl caught in the middle of all this chaos. It's not fair. None of it is. I couldn't help feeling like I'd failed her somehow, like I was supposed to protect her from all the crap that life throws at us. Instead, I was blindsided by my own wife. I tried calling her, but she wouldn't pick up. Texts went unanswered. I even showed up at her office once just to see if she'd come clean, but she made sure to avoid me. That bitch. That's what she was. She hadn't just cheated, she'd lied, manipulated, and made me doubt myself. I kept asking myself over and over, how did I miss all of this? How did I not see the signs? I thought I knew her, but now I wasn't so sure. One night, I decided I had to see her face to face. I needed closure, or at least some kind of explanation. I showed up at her apartment, not expecting much but hoping for the truth. When she saw me standing there, she looked annoyed, like I was bothering her. She opened the door, and before I could say anything, she snapped, "What are you doing here, Mike? I told you I'm busy." "I need to talk," I said, voice barely above a whisper. "I need to hear it from you. Why? Why did you do this?" She rolled her eyes but then sighed, leaning against the doorframe. "Look, I told you already, I don't know what you're talking about. Alex is just a donor and we're not doing anything. You're psycho if you think I'd cheat on you, especially now when Emily needs me more than ever." That made me furious. "Stop lying. I saw the footage. I found the note. You've been sneaking around. Don't try to deny it anymore." Her face twisted into that familiar smirk. Mike, you're so paranoid, you're just jealous. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating, huh? Maybe you're hiding something. The accusation hit me like a punch. That's bullshit, Lisa. I've been faithful. I've been trying to hold this family together while you're out there screwing around. She crossed her arms and her voice turned cold. You're just mad because I don't want to be a miserable wife anymore. Maybe I want something more. Maybe I want a life I can enjoy. You think I'm perfect, don't you? Well, I'm not. And honestly, I don't care what you think anymore. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. It was like she was trying to justify everything to make it seem like she was the victim. But I knew better. I knew she'd been lying all along. The betrayal was too deep, the lies too many. I felt. My hands trembling, my jaw clenched. I had to get out of there before I said something I'd regret. I'm done, I told her. I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Lisa. I don't know if I want to, but I do know this. Our marriage is over as far as I'm concerned. She looked surprised, maybe even a little scared, but then she recovered quickly. Fine, be that way. But don't come crying when you realize you lost the best thing that ever happened to you. You're just too blind to see it. I turned and walked away, feeling like I had just stepped into some nightmare I couldn't wake up from. That night, lying in the hotel, I realized I was completely lost. For so long, I'd thought I had a partner, someone who loved me, who cared about Emily. But now it felt like I'd been living with a stranger, a woman who'd been lying, cheating, and hiding her secrets. She was right about one thing, though. I was blind. I was blind to her true nature, blind to the cracks in our marriage, blind to the lies I refused to see. Next morning, I woke up with that heavy feeling weighing on my chest. I knew I had to make some decisions. I couldn't go on pretending everything was fine. I didn't want to be just another guy who got played like a fool. But I also couldn't ignore what she'd done, how much she'd hurt me, and Emily most of all. I knew I had to choose, walk away or fight for what's left of us. The question was, did I have the strength for either? The day I finally decided to confront her again, I knew I had to approach it differently. No more yelling, no more accusations, just facts, calm and clear. I wanted to hear her explain herself, even if I already suspected I knew what the answer would be. I didn't want to get caught up in a battle I knew I couldn't win if I lost my temper. I had to be smart, cold even. I went to her apartment again, this time with a plan. I brought my phone, ready to record, just in case she tried to deny everything outright. I needed proof, but I also needed to hear her say it with her own words. When she saw me, she looked annoyed, but I kept my expression neutral. Lisa, I started softly, I want to hear it from you. Are you sleeping with Alex? Her face flushed, then she scoffed. Of course not. You're just obsessed with that guy. I told you he's just a donor, nothing more. I took a deep breath. Then explain the note I found. Explain why I saw you sneaking into those consultation rooms during Emily's visits. Explain why I saw your security footage meeting him in that empty room. Don't lie to me, Lisa. I deserve the truth. She hesitated, then finally looked away, her lips pressed into a thin line. Fine, she muttered. Yes, I've been seeing him, but it's not what you think. It's not sex, if that's what you're worried about. It's complicated. That hit me like a punch. Not what I think, then what is it? You're sleeping with him, aren't you? She looked angry now, her voice rising. You don't get to judge me. I was lonely, okay? Emily was sick all the time and you were never around. Alex was there for me. He listened. He understood. It's just a stupid affair. It's not like I'm leaving you. I just needed something to feel alive again. I shook my head, feeling numb. That's bullshit, Lisa. You lied to me about everything. You lied about where you've been, about who you've been with. You're cheating, plain and simple, and for what? To feel alive. She rolled her eyes and sneered. Oh, please, you're so self-righteous. You think you're perfect, but you're not. You're just as selfish, just as clueless. Maybe if you paid more attention to Emily and less to your stupid job, I wouldn't have had to look elsewhere. That was the moment I realized just how deeply she hated me. She was angry, bitter, and trying to justify her actions as if she was the victim. I felt my chest tight, my fists clenched. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and make her see how much she'd destroyed us. But I held back. I knew I had to stay calm, even if the rage was boiling inside. I can't do this anymore, I said quietly. I can't be with someone who lies to my face, cheats behind my back, and treats me like I don't matter. I love Emily too much to let her grow up believing her mother is a liar. I think we need to separate. I need some space to figure out what's next." Her face twisted into a mixture of anger and contempt. "You're really serious about this, huh?" "Yes," I said, voice steady. "I am. I don't want to be with someone whose love is so fragile she can't even be honest with me. I deserve better. Emily deserves better." She looked like she was about to explode, but then she just scoffed and turned away. "Fine. Do what you want. But don't come crying when you realize you threw away the best thing that ever happened to you." I left her apartment that day feeling hollow. It was like I just lost the person I trusted most in the world, and I didn't even get the closure I needed. Instead, I was left with a mountain of questions. Was she truly just doing this because she was lonely? Or was there something darker behind her actions? I didn't have answers, only a sinking feeling that I'd never really know the whole truth. All I knew was that my marriage was in ruins, and I was the one who broke it. That's when I realized I had to start thinking about my own future, about how I was going to pick up the pieces and move on from this betrayal. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that trust, once broken, can never be fully repaired. The days after I told her I was leaving were the worst I've ever experienced. Every moment felt like a punch to the gut, and I kept replaying everything in my mind. Her lies, her betrayal, those secret meetings in the hospital rooms, the damn note. Emily was oblivious, thankfully, still just a sweet, innocent girl who deserved better than the chaos her mother had dragged us into. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd failed her somehow, that I'd let her grow up thinking love and trust were just illusions. I stayed at the hotel, trying to keep my head clear. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, her sneering, dismissive, and utterly cold. I felt angry and betrayed, but also a strange sense of clarity. I knew I couldn't go back, not now, not after everything I'd uncovered. I realized that my marriage was over, at least for now. The woman I thought I knew had been hiding a whole different person behind her pretty face. One night I was sitting in my hotel room, thinking about the future, whether I should try to fight for a reconciliation, or just accept that it was time to move on. The idea of starting over was terrifying, but I also knew I couldn't live in a lie. I had to figure out what was best for Emily and for myself. I started drafting a plan, one that would give me some control over the mess she'd made. I reached out to a lawyer just to understand what my options were. The more I thought about it, the more I knew I wanted to protect Emily from the fallout. I didn't want her to see her mother as a liar or a cheater, but I also couldn't let Lisa get away with what she'd done. I decided I'd file for separation, maybe even divorce if she refused to change. I'd keep the house, stay involved in Emily's life, and do everything I could to shield her from the worst of it. But what bothered me most was that I still loved Lisa. Deep down, I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, she'd come to her senses and realize how much she'd screwed up. I kept asking myself if there was any way to salvage this, or if I was just fooling myself. Still, I knew I had to focus on Emily right now. She needed stability, love, and honesty, things Lisa had clearly betrayed. One evening, I got a call from my sister, Sarah. She's been my confidant through all of this. She told me to stop blaming myself, to remember that I hadn't caused her betrayal. "People cheat because they choose to," she said softly. "You can't control her actions, but you can control how you respond. And right now, Emily needs you to be strong." That hit me hard. I realized I'd been so consumed with rage and heartbreak that I'd forgotten about what mattered most: my daughter, her future, my own peace of mind. I decided that I'd do whatever it took to give her a stable, loving environment, whether that meant fighting for custody or just making sure she knew she was loved no matter what. So I sat there that night, feeling exhausted but finally somewhat at peace. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, and I'd probably face more surprises along the way. But I also knew I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her lies. I had to face the truth, however ugly, and move forward. Because if there's anything I've learned, it's that life doesn't wait for us to be ready. Sometimes you just have to take control and do what's best for those who depend on you. especially your little girl, Emily. The days turned into weeks, and I finally started to feel a little more grounded. The initial shock and betrayal still weighed heavily on me, but I was slowly rebuilding my emotional armor. I kept focusing on Emily, her smile, her laughter, her innocence. She was my reason to keep going, even when everything around me felt like it was crumbling. I made a promise to myself that I would be the father she deserved, no matter how messy everything else became. I also took steps to move forward legally. Filing for separation was a painful process, but it was necessary. I knew I couldn't trust Lisa anymore, not after everything. I wanted transparency, honesty, and most of all, stability for Emily. The court proceedings were a nightmare, long, draining, and filled with emotional roller coasters. Lisa fought me on everything, trying to spin her lies and make herself look like the victim. But I stayed firm. I knew what she was capable of, and I refused to let her manipulate the situation. During this time, I also started seeing a counselor. Not because I was weak, but because I needed to process all of this, my feelings of betrayal, loss, anger, and grief. Talking to someone who wasn't emotionally involved helped me see things clearly. I realized I'd been holding on to hope that Lisa would somehow change, but that was a mistake. She made her choices, and I had to accept that. My focus had to be on healing myself and providing Emily with the life she deserved. Eventually, things settled into a new normal. I moved into a small apartment near Emily's school, making sure I was there for every important moment. I stayed engaged in her treatment, making sure she knew she was loved and supported. Lisa still tried to reach out, but I kept my distance. Her words and apologies felt hollow now. I didn't need more lies. I needed consistency and honesty for my daughter's sake. Looking back, I've learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. People can hide their true selves behind facades, and sometimes love isn't enough to keep everything intact. But I've also learned that I am stronger than I thought. I can survive betrayal, heartbreak, and the loss of a marriage if it means protecting what truly matters, my daughter and my own peace of mind. In the end, I realized I don't regret standing up for myself. I refused to be a victim of her lies. I chose to take control of my life, even if it meant going through hell first. And I'd advise anyone reading this, trust is fragile. Watch for the signs, listen to your gut, and don't let anyone make you feel ashamed for walking away from lies and deception. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is knowing when to let go and start over.